At 18, I took a babysitting job to earn extra cash. The next morning, cops dragged me out of bed. The girl said I assaulted her. I spent months in prison before one broken camera, and a neighbor's footage flipped the whole story. Hey Reddit, I never thought I'd vent here, but after everything that happened, I need to get this off my chest. A simple babysitting job turned into the worst 7 months of my life, and somehow I'm still standing. I want people to know how fast lies can destroy someone, and how hard it is to rebuild once the truth finally crawls its way back to the surface. I was 18 when everything started. Freshman year of college, broke, and always looking for easy side gigs. Babysitting was one of those things I fell into by accident. My mom's friend, Mrs. Miller, needed someone one night, and I happened to be free. It went well. The kids liked me, and after that, she started calling me whenever her regular sitter bailed. Her kids, Tommy, age 7, and Emma, 5, were great. No tantrums, no disasters, just two little goofballs who thought I was the coolest guy alive because I let them stay up 20 minutes past bedtime and built Lego towers that reached the ceiling fan. They called me Big Bro Cameron, and honestly, I liked the nickname. So when Mrs. Miller called that evening, I didn't even hesitate. Hey, sweetheart, I know it's last minute, but my sitter canceled. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important, she said over the phone, sounding flustered. I checked my calendar. Nothing but studying for a psychology quiz tomorrow. Yeah, sure, I said. What time? 7 to 9:30. I'll pay extra. Deal. I threw on a hoodie, grabbed my backpack, and headed over. The Millers lived in this cozy 2-story house with a white porch and one of those glowing seasonal flags hanging by the door. That night it said, "Bless this home." When I got there, the kids were already in pajamas, watching a cartoon marathon. Mrs. Miller was half dressed up, hair curled, heels in one hand, rushing around the living room. "You're a lifesaver, Cameron," she said, fishing through her purse for her keys. "Dinner's done. Kids brush their teeth. Just keep them alive till I get back." I laughed. "I can handle that." "Oh, and Susan might come home later," she added, already heading toward the door. "She's with friends, but said she might swing by." My stomach tightened a little at that name. Susan, Mrs. Miller's older daughter, 19, a year older than me, but we'd crossed paths plenty of times. She was complicated. Susan had this habit of flirting with everyone, but with me it was different. Obvious, persistent, the kind that makes you laugh awkwardly and change the subject. She used to find excuses to text me when I babysat. "How's my little brother?" Or need company while the kids sleep. I always ignored it or kept things polite. Then one night, about 2 months back, she showed up while I was babysitting. Said she just needed to talk. The kids were asleep, so I figured it was harmless. But then she said she liked me, really liked me. And when I gently told her I wasn't interested, she completely broke down. Tears, shouting, the whole meltdown. "You don't even care," she screamed, pacing the living room. "You just think you're too good for me because you're in college." It was awkward and uncomfortable as hell. I told her she was overreacting and she stormed off. A week later, she acted like it never happened. Smiling, casual, even complimenting my haircut like nothing had gone down. I remember thinking it was weird, but I pushed it aside. I figured she'd gotten over it. Anyway, around 9, the kids were half asleep on the couch. I carried Tommy to bed first, then Emma, who mumbled something like, "Night, big bro," before passing out. I was cleaning up snack crumbs when I heard the front door unlock. Susan walked in. She didn't say a word. Just stood there in the doorway, staring at me for a second. Same blue eyes, but this time, no smile. Just this weird, tight expression, like she'd been crying or maybe angry. "Hey," I said, trying to sound normal. "Your mom said you might be coming home." She didn't answer, just walked past me and headed straight upstairs. Her footsteps were slow and heavy, and she didn't look back once. Okay, I thought, maybe bad night. Not my business. I finished cleaning, then sat down on the couch to watch a rerun of The Office. At 9:30, headlights flashed through the front window. Mrs. Miller was home. She came in looking radiant, full makeup, a little tipsy on energy if not alcohol, smiling wide. "You're the best, Cameron," she said, dropping her purse on the counter. "Kids were good?" "Perfect," I said. "Out like lights." She counted out cash from her wallet, handed it to me with a warm smile. "I owe you big time. Don't worry about it." I grabbed my backpack, said goodnight, and headed out. The air was cool, the street quiet. My car was parked under the streetlight, and I remember thinking how calm the night felt. Just one of those regular, peaceful evenings. I got home, showered, and cracked open my psychology textbook. Nothing seemed strange or out of place. Just another night of babysitting, another easy paycheck. If you'd asked me then, I would have told you it was nothing special. No warning signs, no strange moments. Just a quiet house, 2 sleeping kids, and a college kid doing his job. But the next day flipped my entire life upside down. It started with pounding, not the gentle kind that makes you think someone's dropping off a package. This was heavy, angry knocking that rattled the front door. I rolled over, half asleep, thinking maybe it was a delivery guy or one of my dad's coworkers. Then I heard my mom yell my name from downstairs. "Cameron, come down here right now." Her voice didn't sound normal. There was panic in it. I stumbled out of bed, still in sweatpants, eyes half shut. When I hit the bottom of the stairs, I froze. 2 cops stood in our doorway, full uniform, badges shining under the morning light. My mom looked pale. My dad stood behind her with his arms crossed, like he already assumed I did something wrong. "Cameron L. Carson?" one of the officers said. Yeah? You're under arrest." I actually laughed for a second because I thought it had to be a mistake. Wait, what? Before I could ask anything else, one of them turned me around and cuffed my wrists. Cold metal, tight. My mom gasped and reached for me. What is going on? He's just a kid. The taller officer said something about suspicion of assault, but my head was spinning too hard to catch every word. I tried to talk, to explain, but they just kept repeating that anything I said could be used against me. My dad's face went red. What the hell did you do? He barked. I didn't do anything, I yelled, but nobody listened. They walked me out past the neighbors' windows. Curtains moved. I could feel people watching. My heart hammered so fast, I could barely breathe. I'd never even been in a police car before. The smell of vinyl and disinfectant made me feel sick. At the station, they booked me first. Fingerprints, mugshot, the whole routine, then stuck me in a small room with a metal table, 2 chairs, and a one-way mirror. I kept trying to figure out what the hell was happening. Maybe a mix-up? Maybe someone used my name? A detective walked in after what felt like an hour. Mid-40s, messy tie, tired eyes. He carried a folder thick enough to make my stomach drop. He smiled, but not the friendly kind. Relax, Cameron, he said, sitting across from me. We just want to hear your side. I nodded, still shaking. Okay, about what? He flipped the folder open and looked straight at me. About what happened last night, at Mrs. Miller's house. My chest tightened. What happened last night? He leaned back in his chair, pretending to act casual. You were babysitting. Kids went to bed. Susan came home around 8. Ring any bells? I didn't check the time, I said slowly. But she came home not long before Mrs. Miller, looked at me weird, and went straight upstairs. That's it. He scribbled something in his notebook. That's it? Yeah, I didn't even talk to her. He sighed, like he'd heard that line 100 times. Susan says otherwise. She says when she came home, you cornered her in the kitchen, made her uncomfortable, that you said things that scared her. I just blinked at him. What? She also says you did something and threatened her when she resisted. I laughed, actually laughed, because it sounded insane. That didn't happen! She went straight upstairs. I didn't even move from the living room. The detective nodded slowly, pretending to understand. Then he slid a paper cup of water toward me. Listen, I get it. Sometimes people make mistakes. If you admit to something small, say you got too close, maybe misread a signal, we can help you. Judges like honesty. That's when it clicked. He wasn't trying to understand. He was trying to trap me. I didn't do anything, I said, louder this time. His voice hardened. Susan's story hasn't changed once. Are you sure you want to stick with that? I stared at the table. I could feel sweat running down my neck. I'm telling the truth. He leaned forward, whispering like we were sharing a secret. The thing about the truth, Cameron, is it doesn't always line up with evidence. You sure you want to keep digging this hole? What evidence? I snapped. She's lying. He didn't answer. He just stood, collected his notes, and left me sitting there. When they finally let me out on bail that evening, my mom was waiting in the lobby. Her face was blotchy from crying. My dad stood next to her, arms crossed, jaw tight. The ride home was dead silent until my dad spoke. What the hell is wrong with you? I didn't do anything, I said again. My voice cracked, and it made me sound guilty even to myself. Then why would she say that? He shouted. Why would she lie? I don't know. My mom turned around from the passenger seat, tears in her eyes. Cameron, just tell us the truth, she whispered. I am telling the truth. We pulled into the driveway. He slammed the car door hard enough to make the windows shake. My mom stayed behind, grabbing my hand before I could go inside. Her eyes were full of something I hadn't seen in years. Pure fear. I know you didn't do this, she said quietly. We'll fix it. I promise. Those words were the only thing keeping me from collapsing right there. But promises don't mean much when you live in a small town. By the time we got home, I could already see people on the sidewalk whispering, pretending not to stare. News spreads fast around here. That night, I sat on my bed staring at my phone, waiting for someone to text me. A friend, a classmate, anyone. No one did. It's crazy how fast your life can burn down without a single flame. I learned that day it doesn't matter if you're innocent. All people need is a rumor. By the end of the week, everyone knew. The story spread faster than anything I'd ever seen. In a town this small, gossip travels like wildfire. You can't walk 2 blocks without someone knowing your business. And mine had become the only thing people wanted to talk about. At first, I tried convincing myself it would die down, that people would wait for the truth. But that was a joke. The neighbors who used to wave at me every morning now avoided eye contact. Mrs. Keener from across the street pulled her kids inside whenever I walked past. Even my college sent me an email saying my attendance would be temporarily suspended pending investigation. That one hit the hardest. I'd worked my ass off to get there. And just like that, I was locked out. I tried calling people I thought were my friends. Most didn't answer. The one who did, my best friend Jason, picked up after the 3rd call. Man, I heard, he said quietly. Finally, someone who might believe me. Jason, it's not true, I said. You know me. I would never. I know, he cut in fast, then lowered his voice. But listen, this whole thing's getting ugly. People are talking, my parents are freaking out. I just think maybe it's better if you don't call me for a while. I froze. So that's it? He sighed. It's not that I don't believe you, dude. I gotta think about my reputation. You know how people are. That sentence right there felt like getting punched. I get it, I said quietly, even though I didn't. Take care, man. He hung up, and that was that. Years of friendship, gone in a 2-minute call. After that, I stopped reaching out. There wasn't anyone left to call anyway. The tension at home got worse by the day. My dad barely spoke to me except to bark orders or push me to admit that I did it. He started drinking more alcohol, pacing the living room like he was trying to wear a hole in the floor. One night, he snapped. He came into my room while I was sitting on my bed scrolling through old texts, trying to distract myself. His face was red, his jaw tight. "I just got off the phone with Mark from work," he said. "He told me everyone's talking about you. About us. You've embarrassed this entire family." I stood up, trying to stay calm. "Dad, I didn't do anything." "Then why would she lie?" he yelled, slamming his hand against the doorframe. "What does she gain from that?" "I don't know. Maybe she's mad or—" He cut me off. "You always have an excuse. You're done staying here. Pack your things." I stared at him, waiting for my mom to say something. She was standing behind him, her hands shaking. "Dad, please," I said. "Where am I supposed to go?" "Anywhere but here." He turned and walked out. My mom stepped closer, tears in her eyes. "He's angry, Cameron. He's just scared." "Scared of what? That people will think his son's a monster?" She didn't answer. She just hugged me. "Come with me," she whispered. We went out to her car in silence. She drove without saying a word, turning down streets I didn't recognize until we reached the edge of town. There, tucked behind a row of old pine trees, was a small single-story house. The paint was faded, and one shutter hung crooked. "This was my mom's," she said quietly, handing me a key. "No one's lived here since she passed. It's not much, but it's yours for now. Stay here until things calm down." I didn't even know what to say. I wanted to argue, tell her I couldn't take it, but the look in her eyes said it wasn't a choice. She helped me carry a few bags inside. The place smelled like dust and old wood, furniture covered in white sheets, the floor creaking under every step. But it was quiet, and for the first time in days, I could breathe. She went around opening windows, letting light in. "I'll bring groceries tomorrow," she said, "and I'll call around. We'll find a lawyer who can actually help." "Mom," I said, my voice cracking. "You believe me, right?" She stopped what she was doing and looked at me like I'd said something crazy. "Of course I do," she said. "You're my son. I raised you. That hit harder than anything else." When she left, I sat on the old couch and listened to the house creak in the wind. It felt weirdly peaceful. Lonely, but peaceful. The first night there was rough. Every sound made me jump. I barely slept, replaying everything in my head. The arrest, the questions, Susan's blank stare that night. It all looped like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. The next morning, true to her word, Mom showed up with bags of food. Milk, bread, canned soup. She also brought a cheap prepaid phone, just in case. She tried to smile, but her eyes were tired. She stayed for an hour, mostly sitting beside me while I ate breakfast. She didn't say much, just small stuff like, "Try to rest," or "I'll be back soon." I could tell she was holding it together just for me. Days passed like that. Long, empty, quiet. My mom came by every couple of days, always looking over her shoulder before knocking. My dad never showed up, not once. The only thing that kept me from falling apart completely was my mom's faith in me. Every time she looked at me, I saw it. The belief that I wasn't what they said I was. And when the world turned its back, her voice was the only one that still sounded human. About a month after my arrest, I had my first court hearing, a preliminary hearing. The trial itself didn't start until a few months later. I remember sitting in the courthouse hallway that morning, hands sweating. Every time the double doors opened, I caught a glimpse of faces, neighbors, old teachers, all there to watch. Not for justice, for entertainment. When they called my name, it felt like the ground tilted under me. The courtroom was packed. Susan was sitting at the witness table with her lawyer, hair tied back neatly, wearing a simple sweater that made her look soft and harmless. I'd never seen her look so composed. When she stood up to testify, she started crying almost immediately. Real tears. Or good acting. I couldn't tell anymore. She said that when she came home that night, I was waiting in the kitchen, that I cornered her, blocked the doorway, and said things that made her scared to scream. She said she froze, terrified, and ran upstairs once I was finished. Her voice broke in all the right places. The jury was eating it up. Then she added the part that made me want to scream, that she used to think I liked her, but then realized I was just pretending to be nice to get close. The same thing she'd said months ago, flipped completely upside down. I gripped the edge of the table until my knuckles went white. My lawyer, a middle-aged guy named Frank who looked more exhausted than confident, whispered, "Don't react." But it was impossible not to. Listening to her rewrite that night, watching everyone nod along like it made perfect sense, made me feel like I was standing outside my own life. Then, the parade started. Random people taking turns pretending to remember something. A woman from our neighborhood said, "I always got strange vibes from him." A guy I barely knew from high school said, "He was too friendly with kids." Even someone from college mentioned I seemed withdrawn lately, as if being quiet was a sign of guilt. None of them had real proof, just feelings, opinions, and feelings were enough. When it was our turn, Frank stood up and said, "Your Honor, there's reason to believe there would have been footage from the Ring camera outside the home, which could confirm my client's movements." The room shifted. Finally, something that could help me. But before he could go further, Mrs. Miller, who looked like she hadn't slept in days, took the stand. Her hands trembled as she spoke. "The Ring camera hasn't worked in weeks," she said softly. "The lens cracked after a storm. My husband was supposed to replace it, but he never got around to it." My stomach dropped. The prosecutor, this slick guy with a perfect haircut, jumped on it immediately. "How convenient," he said, loud enough for the jury to hear clearly. The one thing that could have shown what really happened. Broken. Frank objected, but the judge just told him to move on. So that was it. No footage, no proof. Just her words versus mine. When I took the stand, I told the truth. Every detail. How Susan came home not long before her mom, looked at me weird, and went straight upstairs. How I stayed in the living room the entire time. How Mrs. Miller came home later and paid me like it was any normal night. I tried to sound calm, steady, but every time I spoke, I could feel Susan's eyes on me. Blank, cold, like she was daring me to mess up. The prosecutor tore me apart. So you expect the jury to believe she just made this up? He said. Yes. Why would she do that? I hesitated. Because I rejected her months ago. That made the whole courtroom buzz. Susan put on a perfect shocked face, like I'd said something disgusting. The prosecutor smirked. So now she's lying because of unrequited love? That's your story? I wanted to scream. It's the truth! But he didn't care. None of them did. By the time closing arguments came, I knew which way it was going. The prosecutor stood tall and dramatic, talking about broken trust, innocence destroyed, and how parents deserve to feel safe leaving their children with responsible adults. I wasn't a person anymore. I was a headline. When Frank spoke, his voice was calm but tired. He said there was no physical evidence, no consistency in Susan's story, and that everything pointed to reasonable doubt. But reasonable didn't stand a chance against a crying 19-year-old girl and a town that already decided I was guilty. The jury went to deliberate. They were gone maybe an hour, not even enough time for lunch. When they came back, they wouldn't look at me. The foreman stood up, cleared his throat, and said the word, I'll never forget, guilty. Everything went silent. I didn't move. My mom let out this quiet sob behind me, like she was trying not to fall apart. My dad stood up, face stiff, and walked right out of the courtroom without saying a word. Just left. The judge's voice sounded far away, like underwater, as he read out the sentence. 4 years in state prison. 4 years for something I didn't do. Sentencing was set for a few weeks later, and when I finally stood before him again, he gave me the same 4 years. A week after that, they put me on the bus. Shackled wrists, shackled ankles, a long ride through nowhere. The guy next to me kept humming under his breath. Every bump in the road made the chains rattle. When we pulled through the prison gates, the sound hit me first. Metal doors slamming, guards shouting, voices echoing through concrete. The first week was chaos. The noise never stopped. Yelling, footsteps, metal scraping metal. Even sleep didn't help. There was no quiet, not even for a minute. The air smelled like sweat and bleach. At 18, I had no clue how to handle it. The guards didn't explain much. They just barked orders. Hands at your sides. Eyes forward. Don't talk. You learned the rules by watching. And if you broke one, you found out the hard way. By the third day, people already knew what I was in for. That's the thing about prison. Word spreads fast. I was the kid sitter. That was all anyone needed to hear, before the rumors twisted it into something worse. Hey, that's the babysitter, one guy muttered as I walked by in the lunch line. Another snickered, keep him away from the new guys. I tried to ignore it, but you can't hide in a place where everyone's trapped together. The first fight came out of nowhere. I was in the chow hall, tray in hand, when someone shoulder-checked me hard enough to spill my food. I turned around, ready to apologize, but the guy just smirked. Watch where you're going, babysitter. Before I could say anything, he shoved me again. Then came the punch. Straight to the face. My vision flashed white. I went down, and the tray clattered across the floor. The guards didn't move. They watched. One of them even smiled. I got up bleeding, dizzy, and humiliated. That night, I slept with one eye open. A few days later, it happened again. This time in the yard. 2 guys circled me, calling me names. I tried walking away, but one grabbed my shirt. You think you're better than us? He said before slamming me against the fence. The next thing I knew, I was unconscious. I woke up in the infirmary with a split lip and a swollen eye. The nurse didn't ask questions. She handed me some painkillers and told me to get out. After that, I realized I was on my own. Then came Rudy. He was older, late 40s maybe, with gray in his beard and a calm way of moving that didn't fit the chaos around us. The first time I met him, I was trying to scrub blood out of my shirt from the last fight. You keep doing that, you'll just make the stain bigger, he said without looking up. I didn't answer. I was still trying to figure out if he was messing with me. He finally looked at me and said, Relax, kid. I'm not here to jump you. That's how it started. Slow. Simple. He didn't ask about my case, and I didn't ask about his. We just worked side by side. After a while, he started giving me small bits of advice. Keep your head down, he said one day. Don't talk too much. Don't talk too little. And whatever happens, don't react to rumors. I asked him how long he'd been inside. He shrugged. Too long. Eventually, I found out he'd been fighting his own conviction for years. Said the system chewed him up and forgot him. Public defenders don't defend, they just move paper, he told me once. You want to survive here? You gotta remember who you are, not what they say you are. Rudy became the only person I trusted in that place. One afternoon, he saw me staring off during work. You're thinking about how it used to be, right? He said. Everyone does that at first. I nodded. He sighed. Stop. That's the past. It's gone. You can't survive in here living out there. That hit me hard because he was right. A few weeks later, rumors spread that Rudy was getting transferred. Different facility, different state. He didn't seem surprised. They move you when you start getting too comfortable, he said. The day he left, he handed me a small folded piece of paper, nothing written on it, and said a single line out loud. Don't let the truth die just because they buried you. That was it. He gave me a nod, got in line with the others, and was gone. For weeks after that, I kept hearing his voice in my head every time I wanted to give up. I started following his advice. Every night, I wrote in a notebook my mom sent me, listing every detail I could remember from that night at the Miller's house. Times, words, sounds, all of it. I didn't know if it would ever matter, but it made me feel like I was still fighting. Life didn't get easier, but I got harder. The bruises faded, the stares didn't. But I learned something in that place. They could lock up my body, beat me down, call me names, but the truth was still mine. And thanks to Rudy, I wasn't going to let them bury it. 7 months. That's how long I stayed locked up before everything changed. 7 months of concrete walls, steel doors, and nights where I'd stare at the ceiling wondering if the truth would ever matter again. Then, one afternoon, a guard came to my cell. "Carson, visitor," he said. I figured it was my mom again. She'd been visiting every 2 weeks like clockwork. But when I walked into the small visitation room, there she was sitting beside a man I'd never seen before. He looked sharp, suit, files stacked neatly in front of him, and a calm but determined look. "Cameron," my mom said, standing to hug me. "This is Eric Wallace. He's your new lawyer." Eric stood, shaking my hand. "I've been reviewing your case," he said. "And to be blunt, it's a mess. You were failed. By your last lawyer, by the cops, by the system. I don't plan on letting that continue." I sat down, still stunned. Why now? Why would anyone care? He glanced at my mom. Because she didn't stop fighting. She called me 3 times a week until I said yes. My mom smiled weakly, eyes glossy. Eric opened a folder. "I'm redoing the investigation from the ground up. Everything. And I think we've got something." He told me about a neighbor, a man named Mr. Long, who lived behind the Miller's house. He'd been abroad for months when the trial happened. Mr. Long used a subscription cloud cam that automatically stored months of footage, so nothing had been deleted while he was gone. Apparently, before leaving, he'd installed a new security camera facing his driveway. What no one realized was that the edge of the footage caught the Miller's front porch and part of their walkway. My heart was racing. Everything? Everything that matters. A few days later, Eric came back with a laptop. In a small meeting room, he played the footage. The timestamp read 9:24 p.m., not 8 p.m. like Susan had testified. The video showed Susan walking up the driveway alone, texting on her phone, calm as could be. No one followed her. No hesitation. No distress. Then, around 9:32 p.m., Mrs. Miller's car pulled up. A few minutes later, I came out, backpack slung over my shoulder, walking normally to my car. No yelling, no running, nothing strange. Eric hit pause. Her entire story, that you cornered her at 8 p.m. and she ran upstairs terrified, is impossible. She wasn't even home yet. My mom covered her mouth with both hands. "I knew it," she whispered. But Eric wasn't done. We also got the internet connection records. The Miller's smart home setup automatically synced its router data to their Google account, and it shows her phone connecting at 9:25 and yours disconnecting at 9:35. That matches this footage perfectly. I sat there staring at the frozen image on the screen, the proof I'd begged for months ago. Eric looked at me seriously. "We're filing a motion to overturn. But this time, I'm not letting them twist anything." 2 weeks later, I was back in court. No prison uniform this time. Just a plain shirt and my mom's hope holding me upright. Susan sat across the room with her lawyer, looking pale. Mrs. Miller was there too, avoiding eye contact. Eric presented everything. The footage, the logs, the inconsistencies in Susan's testimony. Then he did something that caught everyone off guard. He called Mrs. Miller to the stand. She hesitated, glancing between Susan and the judge. "Mrs. Miller," Eric began gently. "The night of the incident, did your daughter appear distressed when you returned home?" She shifted in her seat. "No. She was in her room, quiet. I assumed she was asleep. So she didn't tell you anything about an assault that night?" "No," she said, voice trembling. "Not until the next morning." Eric nodded slowly. "And when she did tell you, did anything about her behavior strike you as odd?" She hesitated again. She seemed angry, more than scared. Eric paused, then turned toward the judge. "So to be clear, the alleged victim showed no signs of distress, made no immediate report, and gave a timeline that directly contradicts physical evidence." The prosecutor tried to object, but the judge let him continue. Eric pulled up the footage again. Here is Susan arriving home, calm, alone, at 9:24 p.m. Here is Mrs. Miller arriving at 9:32 p.m., and a few minutes later, my client leaves. There's no confrontation, no panic, no evidence of fear. When Susan took the stand again, she tried to keep her composure. But when Eric asked why her timeline didn't match the footage, she froze. "I must have mixed up the time," she stammered. "Mixed up an entire hour?" Eric said calmly. "Or did you lie?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she whispered. Eric stepped forward. "Then why did you say it at all?" Her voice cracked. "Because he embarrassed me. He turned me down, made me feel stupid. I just wanted him to pay attention. I didn't think it would go this far." The courtroom went dead silent. My mom started crying quietly. The judge looked furious. "Are you admitting that your testimony was false?" Susan nodded, sobbing. "Yes." The judge's voice turned sharp. "Then this court vacates the conviction against Cameron L. Carson. You are remanded into custody while the district attorney files perjury charges." I didn't even move. For 7 months, I dreamed of hearing those words, and when they finally came, my mind went blank. They unshackled me right there. My mom rushed forward, hugging me so tight I couldn't breathe. "You're free," she kept saying. "You're free." My dad was there too, standing near the back, stone-faced. He didn't say a word, just turned and walked out before anyone could stop him. Outside, the sky looked brighter than I remembered. The air felt lighter, real. Freedom didn't feel like justice. It felt like finally coming up for air after being held underwater too long. And for the first time in months, the truth wasn't buried anymore. But just because I was free didn't mean it was over. Over the next year, Eric and I fought the civil case. A few months in, he called me with an update. "They're trying to settle," he said. "Settle?" I asked. "Susan's lawyer is offering a payout. They want you to sign a non-disclosure agreement and move on quietly." I didn't even let him finish. "No. Cameron." I said no. I cut in. "They dragged my name through the dirt. I'm not hiding the truth just so she can save face." He smiled a little. "I was hoping you'd say that." Nearly a year later, the case finally went to court. This time, I wasn't the one sitting there scared. She was. Susan came in wearing a black suit and fake tears, acting like she was still the one who got hurt. She even told the judge that the internet made her life miserable since the truth came out. Eric stayed calm, methodical. He didn't argue or yell. He just laid out the same facts, the footage, the router logs, her confession. Then he asked her one simple question. "Did you or did you not make a false police report against my client?" Susan's voice cracked. "Yes." "And did that report lead to his imprisonment?" She nodded, staring at the floor. That was it. No dramatic speech, no fancy closing. Just the truth, right there for everyone to see. When the verdict came in, I won. Damages granted. It wasn't about the money. It was about everyone finally knowing I wasn't the monster she'd made me out to be. For once, people stopped whispering when I walked into a store. Some even apologized. Teachers, neighbors, people who had looked at me like I was dirt a few months earlier. I didn't say much back. You can't apologize away 7 months of hell. My dad didn't show up at court. Word got around that people in town started mocking him, saying he disowned his own son for nothing. He couldn't handle it. Within a month, my mom filed for divorce. She told him straight up she'd never forgive him for choosing gossip over blood. She started staying over at my grandmother's old house, the one she'd given me when he kicked me out. Some nights we'd just sit outside, quiet, eating dinner off paper plates. She'd tell me she was proud, and I'd tell her I couldn't have done it without her. I stayed in that house, fixed it up little by little, patched walls, fixed the leaky roof, cleaned out the old garage. Working with my hands felt good, simple, real. I started buying up broken down cars, fixing them, selling a few. Some days I'd work from sunrise to midnight, covered in grease and sweat, and it felt better than anything I'd done before. Sometimes I'd catch myself thinking about Rudy, the old inmate who taught me how to survive. His words echoed in my head every time I felt lost. Don't let the truth die just because they buried you. He was right. Those 7 months were gone forever, stolen by a lie. But now that lie was dead, buried for real this time, and the truth finally outlived it.